Well, it's been another day of dramatic political developments just a couple of days after the opposition submitted an impeachment motion to the Rajya Sabha chair, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu. This morning, Mr. Naidu completely and outrightly rejected that impeachment motion, citing several reasons for doing the same, but primarily saying that the impeachment motion petition lacked merit. Well, the Congress has hit back at that, and joining us now is someone who's been leading the Congress's offensive against the Chief Justice on this, and that is former Union Minister Kapil Sibal, who joins us on NDTV this evening. Let's take a look, Mr. Sibal, at the reasons that Venkaiah Naidu has given. He has said that the allegations that you made don't have merit. They are neither tenable nor admissible, that it would be inappropriate and irresponsible to accept these statements, and that essentially it erodes the judiciary's respect and standing.
In fact, we want to enhance the judiciary's respect and standing. That was the intent behind it. We want judicial process to be transparent, processes to be transparent, to be accountable, and there should be no taint. And that was the intent behind it. And as far as the chairman's verdict is concerned, I personally think it's unprecedented. It's illegal, it's ill-advised, and it's hasty.
It's pretty strong to use the word illegal. Why is it illegal?
For the simple reason that he's applied a test which has to be applied after the inquiry is over. Let me just explain to you what the process is. When you file a motion for impeachment and 50 members of the Rajya Sabha or the 100 members of the Lok Sabha sign it, then the chairman has to admit or reject it. And then the process of inquiry starts if he admits it. There's a 3-member committee, there's a Supreme Court judge, there's a sitting Chief Justice of the High Court, a retired Supreme Court judge, a sitting Chief Justice of the High Court, and another legal luminary. And once they come to the conclusion that the allegations are proved, then there's an address to the President based on the motion and the inquiry committee report.
So it's for the committee to decide on the merits.
For proved charges of misbehavior, proved misbehavior. Now he's applied the test of proved misbehavior, which is to be applied after the inquiry, to a stage before the inquiry process starts. This is completely illegal.
This is the office of the Vice President, though, that you're talking about.
So
are you saying he's being partisan?
Even High Court Chief Justices, judges go wrong, Supreme Court judges go wrong. Remember Hope Diamond Hard and Diamond Bright, and Justice Chandrachud said it was not a good judgment. So see, he's only an authority which allows the motion to be carried forward. He's not a quasi-judicial authority. He's not a judge to the cause. And he's now become a judge to the cause. What does he have to see? He has to see, is the motion in order? In other words, have 50 members signed it? Is it in accordance with Article 124 of the Constitution? And do the charges relate to misbehavior? If the charges don't relate to misbehavior, he can reject it. If 50 people have not signed it, he can reject it. But he can't, before an inquiry is held, say that unless it is proved misbehavior, I will not admit it. Because if it is proved misbehavior, there's no need for an inquiry.
So you think it was a bad decision, or he was being partisan?
I don't want to
get into that.
I don't want to get into, make allegations of partisanship. I just wonder why he did it. And why he did it in such haste.
I was going to ask you,
the motion was filed on the 20th.
Yeah.
And there was the weekend in between. He was out. And he came back, and suddenly on the 23rd morning at 9:30, we find that he's rejected.
But Mr. Sibal, let me ask you, which I'm sure you've been asked so many times in the last few days, which is, why do this at all? You always knew you never had the numbers to impeach the Chief Justice, right? The accusation then that is being made against the Congress-led opposition in this case is that, therefore, this was a purely political move, when you know you don't have the numbers.
All right, let me answer it two ways.
Yeah.
Let me answer the second question first. It's political.
Yeah.
So none of the 5 charges have anything to do with politics. They've all been in the public domain. It's nothing to do with any political party, right? It started with Prasad Education Trust case, right? Nothing to do with the Congress party or any political party. It ended with sending matters to particular judges, sensitive matters, nothing to do with politics. Then there was an affidavit that was filed, which was proven to be false, right, in respect of a plot which he gave up only in 2012 when he was elevated, nothing to do with politics. Then there was an allegation of backdating, alleged backdating of an order within the court system, nothing to do with politics. Then there was an inquiry against a sitting judge of the High Court in respect of the same Prasad Education Trust, in which apparently the CBI has a lot of evidence, where apparently he did not give permission for prosecuting.
There's a lot of apparently there. The point is...
No, not apparently.
Yeah.
Not apparently, no. So therefore, I'm answering the second charge. So there's no politics.
Then why you don't have the numbers?
Now I'm going to answer that. First of all, let me just sort of, this impression, and you keep on asking these questions, what's the politics? There is no politics. We want the processes of the judiciary to be without taint. We want integrity within the system, accountability, transparency. That's what we are fighting for, principles. Now you ask me the question, you know you're going to lose, right? Now there are two assumptions in that. Number one, supposing the charges are proved, why will we lose? You think the members of the Rajya Sabha will, despite the fact that a committee says the charges are proved, will still vote against it? That will be politics. And supposing the charges are not proved, that's also possible, right? Now, we know why we are fighting this battle. We're not fighting it for ourselves, we are fighting for future generations. And therefore, if supposing I have a case and I think that wrong has been done, right? Somebody has been killed in an encounter, and I know that this has been a fake encounter, and the family member says, I want to fight this, and others advise, why you want to fight it? You know, every day witnesses go hostile in these matters.
Sure.
Police is against you. So you fight for a cause. She said, the mother will say, I've lost my son. I'm going to fight for a cause even if I lose. So I think that's the issue. So I hope I've answered both your questions.
If this is such a worthy cause and it is for the future of the country and so on, why is the entire opposition not on board? You also don't have Dr. Manmohan Singh's signature on this.
Okay.
Now you gave an explanation for that as a former Prime Minister it was felt that this should be left out. But if it is such a serious matter that involves the Chief Justice, let's begin with Dr. Manmohan Singh. Why wouldn't he sign on to something like
First of all, we did not go to him to seek his signature. So now you must...
So it's not that he said no?
No. You are now assuming that he went to him and he said, I will not sign. We never went to him, and we purposely did not. As a matter of principle, because he's been our former Prime Minister, we didn't want to involve him in any such controversy, number one. Number two, you said that...
other opposition parties, the TMC, the RJD.
First of all, again, now you're making it a political issue. This is nothing to do with opposition. It is to do with individual members of Parliament. Remember, politicians don't, the political parties don't move
but it
this
is a
motion.
Political issue, and you can see that look, the BJP today is having press conferences attacking you all for this impeachment motion. It is you who is leading this sort of cry against the Chief Justice and for this impeachment motion. So it is very much a political issue. I'm saying if it was such a big cause, then the TMC, some MPs would have come and said, okay, we'll put our signatures on this. The RJD, which is such a strong ally of the Congress, would have said, yes, we'll put our names on this.
Okay, let me answer that. First of all, the process is political. Only the process is political. The intent can never be political. The motive can never be political. So don't bring political parties into it. Number two, why would RJD sign this? Why would even ask the RJD to sign it? Don't you know what's happening to the RJD and what's happening to Lalu Prasad?
And TMC.
Why would I would have the DMK sign it? Or why would they want to sign it? Don't you know what's happening in court? So please appreciate the politics behind all this, targeting all the leaders of the opposition. Whether the charges are correct or not correct is another matter. Now, of course, Justice Saini has given the judgment in the DMK case that there is no evidence. But the matter is still in court. So why would anybody embarrass themselves in this process? So let's be clear on it. One, the process is political, the motive is not political. Two, it relates to members of Parliament, doesn't relate to political parties. And some political party may think it may not be the wisest thing at this point in time to sign it. But that's for them to decide.
You're saying it's not a political issue or a party issue. But you do have people like Salman Khurshid, Ashwini Kumar, former law ministers who actually come out and express their reservations.
Again, This is relating to members of the House.
So
Those are not, they are not members of the House.
they don't know the former law minister.
Maybe so. They don't know the evidence. They don't know the petition. They've not read the petition.
Let me though ask
We
you.
don't circulate this petition to every member of parliament or every political party.
What about Fali Nariman's criticism? Forget the politicians for a moment. There's someone like Fali Nariman who is such an eminent jurist, someone everyone respects and admires, who has called this impeachment motion a horribly black day in the history of the Supreme Court, saying it would not only diminish the public's faith in the judiciary, but open the door for the ruling party to move against a judge if it doesn't like a particular judgment. That's pretty strong words from Mr. Nariman.
First of all, I think that he's right. It's a very sad day. And I don't think that we wanted to move the motion, because the choices are very difficult. Either you allow the wound to fester or the rot to fester, and that's why Nariman said, let's lump it, right? Or you say, no, the time has come for us to stand up for principles, right? Some people would like to lump it and let the rot fester. I don't think that we would take that option. So if Mr. Nariman has that point of view, he's most welcome to that point of view. But I think that we have a very strong and a very reasonable point of view. It is a very sad day, and we do it with a heavy heart. But when 4 judges of the Supreme Court come out to the press and they say that democracy is in peril and what's happening in court is unacceptable, and if they don't address the public and tell them what's happening, then years later, years paper, they would have said that their soul, they've sold their, one second, let me answer, that they have sold their soul. So on the one hand, you have 4 judges of the Supreme Court saying this, and on the other hand, you have Mr. Nariman saying this. I don't know who is right and who is wrong. And I don't think that we can now say because Mr. Nariman has said it, then obviously he is right, and because the other 4 judges who are in the court have said it, they're wrong.
But the other 4 judges have not talked about impeachment. I was coming to that. That Justice Chalameshwar is actually on record at an event earlier this month, where he said impeachment is not the answer. He didn't say that. He said impeachment will not solve the problem. No, the same thing. Yeah.
No, it's not the same thing. Impeachment will not solve by supposing.
So he's not supporting the idea of an impeachment.
No. Who is he to support it? He's not part of the.
Those are his public comments as one of the 4 dissenting judges.
Please appreciate what he said. He said impeachment will not solve the problem, but impeachment will put the problem on the national agenda, that it needs to be solved, and we must commit ourselves to solve and have a judiciary which is untainted, which has the confidence of the people. Just go and see what's happening in court. Ask members of the bar what's happening in court.
Mr. Sibal, I just want to ask you, and this is doing the rounds of the internet today, and we've also pulled it out. This is your interview to NDTV in January 2010. At that time, there was this whole Justice Dinakaran case and this whole impeachment motion against him. And you actually said, and I'm quoting you here, that I think it's the greatest disservice to the nation if politicians decide on the fate of judges. You were asked by Sonia Singh should there be another system or another mode of impeachment, and you said, I don't accept the impeachment procedure as a proper procedure.
Yes, I still maintain that.
What's changed?
Please, you haven't heard the question that was asked of me.
I have the transcript right here.
No, correct. So let me answer, because I know what I said, and I never change my point of view, because we stand on principles. The problem with the impeachment process, and I still say so, is that when the motion is put to vote, right, there is a silent whip issued, right?
Yeah.
And parties vote on the whip. Members of parliament vote on the whip.
And you're saying don't vote on the basis of a whip.
What I was saying was that the process is bad. Why? Because when we sit in parliament to judge the impeachment motion, we do it in our individual capacity, just as we move the motion in our individual capacity. So what I was saying was that procedure is wrong. There should be no whips issued, or there should be no silent whip.
But you did say politicians should not decide on the fate of judges.
That's it, through a silent whip.
You're still deciding on the fate of judges.
But through a silent whip, it should not be decided. That's the point that I was making, and I made that point then also. So let's not confuse the two issues.
So finally, Mr. Sibal, what happens next? You've already said you're going to approach, of all places, the only place you can approach, the Supreme Court on this, right? Who is going to decide the bench that hears this? That's very important.
Well,
How
that's for
does
the
it
court
work?
to decide, not for us to decide. We'll just move
Because
the
we don't
petition.
have a precedent for this.
So they'll create a precedent. If there's no precedent, every time there's a precedent created, no? When a new matter comes to court, it becomes a precedent. So there'll be a precedent.
All right, Mr. Sibal, thanks very much for joining us on NDTV this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.